In this video, I'm going to teach you how to set up an AI second brain for a business. Once you have this system set up, you will be able to dump in your SOPs, your policies, your procedures, and they will automatically be ingested into your AI second brain. Newly onboarding people will be able to get up to speed so much quicker. If people leave the company, knowledge won't be leaving with them. And the best thing about this is the longer you have this running in your business, the better it becomes. So before we jump in and actually get to setting up this AI second brain, I think it's useful to take a second to understand why this is worth for a business to do. Where's the economic value for this in a business? Because there is a lot of hype around the AI second brain term. So let's demystify it really quick. So looking at this diagram, right, you have your business. In the business, you have SOPs, policies, meeting notes, contracts, Slacks, and emails. This is the information of the business, and almost every business has this information living in different systems. Maybe it's Google Drive, maybe it's Notion, maybe it's email, maybe it's Slack. It's all over the place. What an AI second brain does is it brings all of that information into one central repository that you or your team can just ask questions and get correct answers back. Now, some of you that's been in the AI space may recognize this as a RAG system, a retrieval augmented generation system. Now, that's not the system we're going to be building today. We're actually going to be using a different type of system called an LLM Wiki. One of the founding fathers of vibe coding, I think people nickname this guy the godfather of vibe coding, Andrej Karpathy, who used to work at OpenAI, who now works at Anthropic, created this Git repo. And as you can see, it's got 5,000 plus stars, 5,000 plus forks. And this is what we're going to be using as the basis for our AI second brain. I think it's worth doing a quick comparison of a RAG versus the LLM Wiki because they both have some pros and some cons. Now, the immediate con for the LLM Wiki is it works amazingly up to about 500 documents. So it's limited in the amount of depth that you can store in there. Whilst RAG works amazingly for like however many documents that you want. But the reason so many people are jumping ship towards the LLM Wiki is because of how it works. So I want you to imagine you have a SOP, a standard operating procedure that explains to an employee how to complete a branding deck for a client. So this document, it'll look something like this. It will say, step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. Step 3, do this. Using the LLM Wiki, you can literally just dump this folder or this SOP into a folder. And what will happen is it will get ingested into your LLM's brain. And this is the crucial step that's different to RAG because what we have is before just storing the whole document in the brain, we have an AI agent that reads through that document and understands it. This is our AI agent. We'll put a little smiley face on it. So let's say, coming back to this one, right? You want to question, what's our refund policy? Maybe you have a couple of documents about that. Maybe there's some contradiction in your SOP because it was written. And let's be honest, nobody's really combing through these SOPs. Maybe they are in tip-top condition. I don't know about the business. But what the AI actually does is it ingests, it understands it, and then it stores it somewhere in the wiki. And where this really shines is when you're adding multiple SOPs. Let's just make a multiple of these SOPs. What this ingestion layer does is it actually figures out the relationships between them. So unlike RAG, we're not just getting all of these documents and just storing them in a vector database. No. We're actually storing them in here after inferring meaning. So this is the AI agent storing them in the wiki database, and it actually makes links between documents. And the reason this is amazing for business is because very rarely will you have SOPs and all this sort of stuff like completely different. They are relationships, like your branding package influences your marketing influences your sales influences your delivery. All of this sort of stuff come together, and that's why loads of people are moving to the LLM Wiki because of this influence and ingestion. Okay, so now you understand a little bit about the LLM Wiki, what it does, why it's competing with RAG, and why we're going to be using this. So let's get to the setup. You're going to need two things to actually run this successfully. First one is Obsidian, and the second one is Claude Code. So I'll just download Obsidian quickly here. You're going to click on Obsidian, download for macOS. Once that's downloaded, this is going to pop up, and we're going to create a new vault. I'm going to name this LLM. Actually, no, I'm going to name it Business Second Brain Demo, and I'm going to create. Make sure to pick a location before you create. Then you're going to get something like this popping up, and this is just the Obsidian Vault opening. Second thing, you're going to need to download Claude Code. Now, I've already got Claude Code downloaded, but if you haven't, just head over to claudecode.com. You're going to have to pay for the Pro subscription. You can go max if you want to, and then there's instructions on there on how to download it. Once you have it downloaded, you're going to want to open a VS Code folder or your IDE of choice, and you're going to want to open that vault. So there we have it. I've just opened that folder now, and you can see that Obsidian is already in here. Now I'm going to open a terminal so we can access Claude Code. Okay, once you open the terminal, we're literally just going to paste in the LLM Wiki into here, and it's going to give everything that Claude Code needs to actually set up the folder structure correctly. So come over to here. It is literally just llmwiki.md. Navigate back over to Claude Code and paste it in there. And I'm going to tell it to please, always say please to Claude, guys, set up this LLM Wiki how is described in the doc. I'm going to stick auto mode on, as it always should be, and let this cook. Perfect. So Claude literally just goes through that and it sets up the folder exactly how we need it. So we have two folders here. We have a raw and we have a wiki. I'm just going to close Obsidian for a second and explain to you what happens here. So how this works is in raw, you give it the assets, you give it the email chains, you give it the documentation that you want to know about your business. Then what the AI model actually does is it creates everything in here. So in the wiki folder, we have concepts, entities, and sources. We don't really need to go into too much detail here, but all you need to know is that the AI agent takes those raw files that you input and it creates them into concepts, entities, and sources and stores those in the brain so that it's easier for the AI model to make those links and get back information to you at a later date when you ask it the questions. So if we go over the start here document that got produced, we can see that there's three operations. We have ingest. Let me just zoom into this real quick because people have told me that. That's why I don't know how to zoom in. Oh well. So the three operations we have is ingest, we have query, and then we have lint. So ingest, this is when you drop a source into raw, you're just going to say ingest the thing, and then the LLM is going to write the summary. Then you can query, so you can ask a question. Then the LLM goes into the IndexMD and drills into the pages that it's created to actually give you a great answer. And then lint is just about checking and delinting the actual wiki, getting rid of missing pages, missing links, etc. So let me show you an actual live example. I've just created this fake standard operating procedure for a client onboarding process. So you have purpose, scope, roles and responsibilities, all of this sort of stuff in here. Now what I want to do is I'm going to download this and ingest it into the wiki to show you exactly how it's going to look. So let me just download this quickly and we'll download it as a docx. Beautiful. Let me just drag this into my setup. We'll drop it into raw assets over here. Great. And then I'll just say ingest the SOP in raw. So firstly, it's just going to extract the text. Just notice that it's a docx file. By the way, I think one reason that Obsidian is doing so well and people are using it is because you can have this nice little graph overview. So when we set up that folder structure, we created a bunch of files. And in this graph view, you can see those files over here. So we can see the Claude MD, we can see the log, we can see the overview. These are all the files that got created. And I don't know if you just saw that, but this just got popped up in there. So this is a live update that the Claude just did to our business brain. So what it's done is it is currently looking through that folder and it's creating those entities, it's creating those relationships. We can see it now knows we have the concept of a project manager that links to the onboarding KPIs, that links to the client onboarding. This is actually quite cool. Look at it popping all over the place. But yeah, hopefully this kind of demonstrates the real benefit of the LLM Wiki, it's these lines together. It's these connections. All we've done is giving it a standard operating procedure showing how people would be onboarded into a business. I say people, clients. And what it's doing is it's ingesting that file, is looking, is understanding, a project manager does this. We have the concept of a client success manager. And it builds that rich database and knowledge graph around your business. And I'll just come into the document so you can kind of understand. So, we send a welcome email, then we schedule a kickoff meeting, then we gather requirements. So this is literally just step by step by step by step what we do. But in here, you have the owner, project manager. And this is what the LLM Wiki is so good at. It's going into here, it's understanding the nitty gritty. It knows we have a technical team. Whereas if we were using a RAG system, sure, you would have this SOP. And if you were to ask a question about a project manager, you would likely get this document back, but you'll also get 1,000 other documents back where project manager is mentioned. So that kind of context and understanding and links isn't there in the RAG system, whilst it is there in an LLM Wiki. So let's actually see this in action. We've ingested a file, we've set up the LLM Wiki. So let's now ask a question of Claude about that SOP to see how it does. Hi, so I want to onboard a client, but I'm not sure about what I should do after sending the welcome email. Can you update me, please? What should I do? Click paste, and you can see it's successfully going into that wiki and getting us back the relevant sections of the standard of the SOP. So step 2 of the client onboarding SOP 001. Here's what comes next. Here's what comes after that. So it's telling us 60-minute meeting, send a calendar with an agenda. And what I quite like about this is it's only given us up to step 4 because then we need to hand it over. It's actually realizing that if we don't know what this process is, we're likely not a project manager that does this day in, day out. So it's saying, step 4, you then hand off to the PM for requirements gathering. Now, what I've shown there is really just a tip of the iceberg. If you are comfortable with Claude Code, then this is going to upgrade your setup an immense amount. Okay. I hope you guys enjoyed that and you're able to now build your AI second brain for your business. If you're curious about how AI can actually speed up your operations and let you work on your business rather than in, feel free to book a free discovery call with me so we can chat it over. And if you're new here and if you're just learning, make sure you subscribe. I try my best to post daily, and let me know in the comments what type of videos you would like to cover.